I've been to New York City, and I've seen enough of LA. So I keep coming back to my hometown, the place I wanna stay. Cause you can't pump an iron in New York City, or down in Dallas or out in LA. You can't pump an iron too far away from Pittsburgh, PA. Pump an iron, it tastes like coming home. Pump an iron, with a good fresh head of foam. Pump an iron, fresh cause it's brewed right here. Pump an iron, my Iron City beer. Well, you can't.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to hyPODermic, the pod that sticks you deep. I'm TJ Bowser, and joining me as always is your host, the Dawn of Disaster, the Maestro of Mayhem, Mr. Nick Benson.
Hey, everybody, how you doing today? Joining me today is Roman, the goth father from New York. I love this guy. He's been a dear friend of mine for a long time, and I'm very proud to have him on as my co-host today.
You know what? Thank you. We have been talking about this for a while, and finally, here we are.
Yeah,
and I love it.
Finally time, right?
Yeah.
Today we have kind of a special show for everybody. I wanted to bring this band on for a little while now. I've been talking to their bassist for some time. We have Kay, Scar, and Ron Graves from Suicide Queen.
Everybody's here.
How are you guys all doing today?
Doing okay. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good. Well, tell me.
We're warming up. Okay.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your band, or actually, you don't need to tell me. You really need to tell our audience, because I really like you guys. I think you guys have a really great sound. It reminds me a lot of the Cam FDM and some of the bands I really liked back in the day. I really, really appreciate what you guys are doing out there, and I know it's not easy these days for musicians. So we'll get into that a little deeper, but introduce yourselves and let the audience know who you are, what you do.
Alrighty. I'm Kay. I program and sing and shit. And let's see. Started Suicide Queen back in 2014. I was in another band. It was a little more radio friendly, I guess, and there were aspects of our music that were getting heavier and heavier, and I just wanted to do more and more of that. And at a certain point, it seemed like, well, it was going to be necessary to actually like have a new band in order to do more of what I wanted. So yeah, Suicide Queen started in 2014. The first show was me and our first synth player, Michael Vile. We played at this weird little place in Alameda, California. And it was this tiny little place with a tiny little stage and a tiny little sound system that got really loud, but we ended up kind of blowing out the speakers at about 3 different points in that show. They would just overheat because it would just get too loud, and we'd have to stop for like 20 minutes or something just to wait for the speakers to return to a functional temperature. So not surprisingly, that happened a few times in the early shows. It was like I don't know, it was a portent of things to come, destroying sound systems and being generally difficult for people to
Did you get a reputation for that?
No. I think that it may not have done any wonders for those venues' reputations, though, because you want generally your PA system to be able to handle a band, and when it can't,
Absolutely.
that doesn't work out so well.
I have all of my own stories about places like that don't seem to have great sound people or sound systems. It's difficult.
You kind of wonder, like, was setting up a live performance venue like just kind of an afterthought to running this bar?
Right.
What happened here? Like, how are you? Okay, fine. Fortunately, once we started working at a slightly higher caliber venue, that wasn't happening so much anymore, and instead it was a less physically destructive experience, if not perhaps a less morally and spiritually destructive experience.
Right. So how soon after that did you bring Ron and Scar into the picture?
Well, there was like a whole lineup that existed for a long time, and around I don't know, I guess it was 2019 or something, 2020, I don't know. It must have been 2019 that different kinds of personal things started coming up for people, and they had other kinds of priorities, and so people would kind of just decide that it wasn't really what they wanted to be doing, or maybe they just couldn't fit it into what was going on in their lives at that time. And so people kind of went on their ways. And then I guess in 2020, a lot of stuff was supposed to happen for the band that, of course, didn't because of the deadly plague situation. So when things were starting to look like it was going to be a safe environment to start playing again, I met up with a couple of the people that were still in the old lineup, and one of them was not really interested in doing it anymore. So then it was just me and the other person. And at some point, that person decided they didn't really want to do it either, because they didn't want to do, they didn't want to work in the format that it had become, I suppose. And so at that point, I had brought in Tony Havoc on the drums, which was cool because he had lived in San Francisco for a while and then moved to LA and then come back up. And we'd always talked about doing a project together, but we were just never in the same city at the same time. So at that time that I was kind of like, well, need to rebuild the lineup. Tony had just moved back up north, and I messaged him and said, "Hey, are you back up in the Bay?" And he was like, "Yeah." So it was kind of the right confluence of circumstances, and we started thinking about, okay, well, we need some people, don't we? So, right. I had known Scar from. Yeah, what's up?
Is Tony? Were you in a band called the Bleeding Stone?
Tony's not with us right now.
Oh, he's not. Sorry, that's wrong. But Tony's from the Bleeding Stone, right?
Well, he's been in a lot of bands. He was in a band called Fear Cult, Voodoo Church. What was the other one? Mephisto Waltz.
Okay.
Scarlet's Remains. Dirty Horror.
Barry?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I had known him from a couple of his bands that he'd been in before that had come up to play in Oakland and stuff. And so we started working together, and we thought, well, we need some more people. So I had known Scar from, I played some guitar in some recordings for another band of our friend Daniel, and that's how I met Scar. And I thought, who belongs in this band is fucking that bass player, Scar. So I asked her, "Hey, do you want to be in this band?" And at the time, we had a show coming up, and it was like, we don't really have the time to actually learn and rehearse parts. So Scar was playing crazy synth noise for a little bit. And then we had some downtime that we could actually okay, now here's how you actually play some of these songs. Right. And then we were like, okay, well, who can play guitar? And we were kind of on this hunt for a little bit. I ran into Ron at a show in San Francisco and was like, yeah, we're looking for a guitar player. And I don't know. And Ron was just like, well, I could play guitar. I was like, fucking Jesus. Why didn't I think of that?
So from now on, we'll refer to Ron as fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So I think that was in 21 or something.
So this is all really new. I
Yeah,
mean, this new formation
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
brand new. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so to the degree that it might remind you a bit of KMFDM or Ministry or those kinds of bands. Musically, it also is very much like that kind of like, oh, there was the one set of people that made that band a thing, and like over time that became another thing, and then somehow Tim Skold was involved, and but he's
Isn't that what the best bands are always like that? It's very incestuous out there, but that's what you do until you find the right formation that
100%.
we'll get into your music in a bit because I have tons of questions about it, but I kind of wanted to interject for 1 second. The reason why I'm here, I made a movie called Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a documentary about Nightmare on Elm Street 2, and that's how I got into cahoots with Nick. Yes.
Yeah.
Nick and I realized we have I mean, he's obviously got a Freddy Krueger past as well, but then we realized we both have a lot of bats in our past as well.
Oh, yeah.
So then he asked me to do this show because he was like, I'm from the Bay Area. I grew up there 100 years ago, but it's a very specific scene. You know, I was super goth when I was a kid in the early 90s, and I like, you guys were spread out through the Bay Area, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oakland is where you are now? Where are you now?
So I'm in LA, and Tony's in LA. But yeah, I was living in Oakland for like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
And you guys all met in San Francisco, essentially, in different venues.
I mean, like, I met Ron, I think, in Oakland a long time ago because when I was in my old band, he was in a band as well, and we would play together and run into each other at all kinds of stuff. So I had known Ron for a really long time. And then Scar, I guess, we met in San Francisco at that video shoot. Tony, I probably met in Oakland when he was in a band called Flesh and the Devil, I want to say. Okay. No.
So, yeah.
I think why that intrigues
we need those.
us most is like when Roman and I were younger, like when we were younger, there was really like, there was Los Angeles, there was San Francisco, there was New York, goth scene wise bleed out into the other city. So for us, way to get to a show, or I would drive from Los Angeles to San Francisco just to see shows.
Well, I hope they were good.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, there was great shows. I mean, it's funny because like now I'll list all these bands that I used to go and sit at their house and drink with after the show, that to the kids now they're like, "Oh my God, you know these people?" But that's just the way it is when you congregate in the cities, when you're in a scene and you're going to meet each other in San Francisco, in LA. And so back when I was there, Oakland wasn't a thing. Like, we could still afford to live in San Francisco. Now everybody's spread far out, and that includes LA. When I lived in LA is also on Hollywood Boulevard, and when I just went back, everyone I know is out. I don't even know where they are now, So it's gotten bigger, but we also have like the social media at our fingertips, so we're able to connect that way too. So it's interesting how these webs weave. But you guys all kind of came together pretty quickly.
Yeah,
within a year, and it was during the COVID times, right?
It was. Yeah, I mean, we still is during the COVID time, but yeah, it was kind of at like that time when we thought that it was maybe going to be over soon. And it looked like, shows were going to start happening again, and the vaccine was, there was a lot more, I guess, optimism about it, and thinking that, oh, well, now we have this, so everything's going to be cool, before we kind of got hip to like this variant situation and all that. That's another story. But yeah, it was I guess we were all kind of like, I know that I was I was really kind of annoyed with, well, I mean, granted, this is such a unimportant kind of problem in the grand scheme of things, but I was just annoyed that like there was nothing to do musically, and so as soon as it looked like, you know, music was going to happen again, like live music, I thought, well, we're getting on that, yeah. So
Yeah.
we all kind of got together as quickly as we could, and we're back on stage as quickly as we could be, and
Right.
yeah, it. I don't know. I'm just glad, I suppose, that we have that opportunity again to do that, because it's turned out to be that, you know, people are pretty happy for the chance to be at a show again. It's pretty cool.
Well, one of the things I'd like to know from you guys is like, I know that being a musician is challenging enough, because trying to even monetize or afford to do your shows is like one challenge. But then you have things like the pandemic kind of, you know, bulldoze you, and then trying to recover from that is, you know, a whole other challenge. And then, you know, we have all this post-pandemic shit happening. You know, trying to monetize your music has got to be really, really tough. And I really want to bring that to light, because I don't think a lot of people really truly understand the challenges you guys face as musicians and as a band to try to even make enough money to cover your, you know, your production costs.
Yeah. You know, I think, I don't know when it was, but at some point I realized that the 90s were over. Basically, it's like,
right.
You know, at up until maybe about 2001 or something, you know, you could be dangerous and you could be subversive and you could be extreme and you could push boundaries and you could still have a number one record. I mean, Closer by 9 Inch Nails, 1994, 95, I want to say. And I mean, I don't think you would even find anyone like born today that hasn't heard Closer by 9 Inch Nails.
Sure.
So entrenched is it in our culture at this point. Because I don't know, maybe a weird thing for Trent Reznor to sit with, I guess. But you know, there were big tours of like, you know, those kinds of acts, you know. Psalm 69 came out in what, 92 or something?
Yeah.
And
there was a lot more labels that were signing bands like that and pushing those tours and putting them out there.
Right.
But like, so much like kind of really bulldozed the music industry, you know, between the digital realm and everything else. It's really affected you all as performers, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, I think that we all have to essentially accept that music, with statistically almost non-existent exceptions, is just not viable as a money-making activity. You'd be more likely to make a living teaching guitar to kids or something, and than to be in a band. I'm sure that, you know, my guitar teacher when I was a kid, you know, he probably made a lot more money than we've ever made, like being musicians that play original music. And, you know, that's just kind of the way it is. That's just what it's become. And once I suppose we come to terms with that understanding, we can take more productive action. You know, that means that we're not going to expect that there's ever going to be a paycheck or something that comes from this, or that it's going to essentially become self-financing. and it means that we have to start thinking of music as as something that we put money into, and generally is more of an expense rather than a profit. And so, for better or worse, I think that means that you narrow down the pool to people that really want to do it, and that's good. On the other hand, it also narrows down the pool to people that were born with a lot of money. So there's that too. But hey, Gary,
that kind of goes into every trade right now too. Absolutely, But I want to ask you though, like, clearly you used the time during the pandemic to really you made this new album during that time, right? And you basically revamped a lot of your previous tunes for this, and they sound incredible. So you paired up with somebody, John Fryer, for this?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
That was kind of a result of our label's partnership with him. We actually recorded the record. It was all finished kind of right before the first wave of shutdowns. A lot of the vocals most of the vocals, were tracked at the label HQ in Oakland. Actually, we set up kind of a studio there, and we finished. And
were all of you guys in the studio doing it? Were all, your current lineup? Were you guys on that album?
No, it was I recorded everything, did all the programming and all that stuff, and then all the vocals we recorded over at the label's compound, and it was just me and the label head and the former guitar player who would kind of manage the hardware vocal processing stuff, just like the compressors and preamps and stuff. It was very kind of home studio I would have just done it all myself at home if I didn't have adjoining walls with people that would probably have called the cops.
Right.
So to touch on the last thing I asked, like, you guys also have kind of geographical challenges now too, with Scar being in the Bay Area and you guys are in Los Angeles. Do you find that is a problem at all, or you guys just worked that out?
You could say, I mean, in some ways it's a problem, sure. Like, we don't get to rehearse together every week like we used to when we all lived in the same place, and that kind of sucks for sure. Sure. I would say, I mean, because we have so much like backing track stuff, I mean, we can all rehearse independently, so I don't think that the quality of rehearsal per se suffers for it. Right. But it's nice to all just be able to get together every week and see each other and remind ourselves that, like, the other people are real.
Right.
and not just I don't know, phantoms that live in my phone. But I think that in terms of actually getting stuff done, I mean, part of the good thing about the advent of more kind of digital music stuff is that there's so much that's done via email or like a shared drive and all that kind of stuff, right, that we don't really lose out on so much of that aspect. And then when it comes to doing live stuff, I don't know, like, we played in Mexico recently, which was super cool. And Ron and Scar came down from up north, and then we're going to be playing in San Francisco on Christmas, so we'll be going up north to join them. And to some degree, it's really kind of not an issue. You know, it means that kind of fewer of us are traveling each time we're doing a thing. Right.
It's nice to see, though, that you guys have the drive to keep it going, and keep pushing to do the shows because
And
I
there's a
think
lot of
that,
driving.
yeah, yeah. I feel like that. Like obviously, it's the music that drives you, and that is at the core of why you do it.
Sure.
I think that is admirable, and like while it doesn't get monetized, you guys keep pushing forward and pushing forward. And I'm just one person that as a fan, even I thoroughly appreciate what you guys are doing because it's not an easy road.
No. So thank you.
As a fan, if I was going to take that perspective, how do you perceive your audience? Like, what kind of genre do you feel you fit into?
Good. Yeah.
I know I know that there's like how you perceive your music is going to be one way, but then it's how you have to market it is another. So who's at your shows?
Yeah, great question. I mean, and I say great question because it's so hard to answer. Like, when the band started, it was like all the goths in San Francisco and that area would be there, and it was like, oh yeah, we're a goth band, even though like the music is nothing like bands that I would call goth per se,
Sure.
And then after 2020 when we started playing again, like you mentioned, a lot of people had moved away, and so our audience was totally different. The kinds of people that were coming out to our shows was a total surprise. There was no unifying aesthetic anymore, no like no one demographic you could depend on showing up. What have you guys noticed, Scar and Mom? What have you noticed about the audience that was kind of like surprising to you?
I think for me, one thing that
rock and roll.
go ahead, Scar.
That's all.
I was just going to say, one thing that's always been an interesting observation to me is, they call it the goth and industrial scene. But there really is kind of two camps within that. There's the people that like to go to the clubs, and then there's the people that like to go to the shows. And it's, it's a scene. Both of them are kind of unique scenes that stand on their own. So definitely, people that are into the live music on the goth industrial side of things are there. And you see these people at all the shows that you go to. That's just my observation on that.
Yeah, I mean, goth is kind of a household term now, right? So even here, I'm seeing kids that are calling themselves goth, and I'm like, you don't even know, but that's okay. I mean, that's great. I love that Target has a goth section of their website now. Like, that's wonderful. But I mean, as a band, that could be a little confusing, but also great because like you don't need to be pigeonholed by your audience. At the same time, it's kind of nice when you can visually recognize your audience, but that's not imperative. And so, and I remember the goth days in San Francisco. It was pretty eclectic. I used to work at a place called Death Guild, the Trocadero. It was at the Trocadero. And that was like, we had all kinds of people there. I was a dancer. I had to entertain these people, but we had a lot of bridge and tunnel people that still liked it, even though I wouldn't even think in the daytime that they would be there. So, but I am noticing today that because this term and this energy is becoming more popular again, I think that's going to reflect in your audience, and that it's not going to be so easy to like point out, oh, there's someone that will like my music. So that could be cool. I mean, as long as the energy is there, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think that, as long as you're anti-Christian, you'll probably enjoy the music that we play.
And I am. So that's fucking awesome. How do you feel? Any of you, like, are you up there, like, identifying with people feeling like you're part of this? I mean, is there a bond with your audiences so far?
Yes. I mean,
okay, let me rephrase that. What area, where are you playing where you're feeling like there's a strong connection? Because like I mentioned before, like the areas are kind of different now, you know, and it's more spread out. I know that a lot of people that I used to know in the scene have moved out towards Sacramento. It's not all centered in one place anymore. So where do you love to play?
You know, I could probably give a long answer for this. So maybe Ron and Scarf should go.
Sure. I think, you know, post-pandemic, live music is still trying to find its footing, to be honest. I think a lot of people that were going to shows before the pandemic are no longer going to shows. So I think we're still waiting to see what happens on that front. Like who's going to come out, what scenes are going to, you know, recoalesce. So yeah, I think at this point we just kind of have to wait and see and keep making art and keep putting on good shows. And eventually these things will fix themselves. They'll solve themselves.
Absolutely. Scott, you have any favorites? Or the same way that Ron does?
I mean, I think that hopefully we'll go broader, right? And I would like to go overseas. I have no idea what the crowd is like there. I think
Europe
perhaps
would be good
it
for you
might
guys.
be totally different than what's going on around here. But
Mexico is fantastic.
So
we would definitely like to go back to Mexico.
Yeah, you know,
I figured
it's wonderful in Mexico, yes.
Roman, that there's a huge scene there for bands like this, and I just think that's amazing.
If you think about all the great talent
Europe is a good
coming out of
market
Mexico,
too.
yeah, not a wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
here in America, they kind of have like they put a wall up, and all you hear about is your own. You know, you hear about your own camp basically. But like, I remember back in the day that like Christian Death used to play down there all the time, and their shows were massive.
Yeah.
And then they'd come up here, and it would just be like, you know, them again. You know. So yeah, Mexico is where it's at apparently.
Mexico is, I mean, of course, like, you know, playing hometown shows in Oakland and San Francisco and down here in Hollywood is really amazing. I'll say, though, that, you know, when we went to Mexico and met all these people that, you know, it was just such a weird and like such a weird experience and such an honor to be invited to play in another country. It was like you not only have heard of us, you like us, and you want us there. Are you sure? And then to have all these people that really like connected with us there, and what, you know, I was like, even like it seemed like it was just a genuine like enjoyment of what we were doing, and it wasn't about any kind of personal connection or whatever. It wasn't because they knew who we were as people, or, you know, we were friends with them or anything. It was just like they are just really enjoying us for only for what we're doing. We could be like terrible people as far as they know, but they're really you know, enjoying this music and the show, and that kind of reception was pretty surprising and really cool.
Well, they say that like love is universal, but I feel like it's angst that's more universal when you're in a band. You know, like that's like they don't have to understand the lyrics if they can tell that you're pissed. Like that's, or just that there's, you know, emotion behind it that's intense. And down there, like, you know, they gravitate to that. Plus, they like a lot of makeup. You know,
And it
if you
doesn't
have
hurt
makeup-
because it's fluent in Spanish.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, but like theatrics and makeup and a powerful sound, you can bring that all over the place. So
You know, the
that's
crowd we had down there, I think the crowd that was down there in Mexico just had good taste and good music. And it was a great
See?
crowd.
I love it.
So let's do this. I have a very favorite song. Well, at least right now it is. I don't know. You guys have so many good songs. It's hard to pick one. But I wanted to share with our audience. I wanted to share Angel because you guys have such a great video. It was production value was really, really well made. I, as a horror fan, really appreciate the video. So why don't we take a look at that? All right, so going back to that, what was your influence in creating the sounds that you guys have? I mean, you know, obviously, I can guess, I can spitball at who a lot of your influences were, but I'd like to hear from you guys individually as to who your influences were and why you're doing what you do.
Ministry. Ministries, Psalm 69 especially.
Sure.
And I want to say it was 1995. The album Wrecked by Pig was a huge influence for me. And I think I got into ministry when I was like 11 or something. I saw the video for Jesus Built My Hot Rod on was it the Rock Show on VH1, which is it was the coolest thing on TV. You had to wait until like midnight or something for it to come on, but it was great. And then Pig, I was into KMFDM, and then when I was like 14, I met a guy that I ended up starting a band with, and he said, "Oh, you're into KMFDM? You ever get into Pig?" And I was like, "What's that?" And now we've played with like 3 times or something. Which awesome. Also, by the way, very cool experience. Raymond Watts is a super cool guy.
Very cool. How about you, Scar? Where did it start for you?
Sorry, unmuting my microphone. Well, this is funny, but when I was like 9 years old, maybe younger, Faith No More was a band that I just was drawn to. And Megadeth as a child. And then as I got older, so like teenage years, I'd say like Ministry, Marilyn Manson, Static X. I like fast and heavy music. KMFDM.
That reflects in your playing. It definitely reflects in your playing. I can see all of that. How about you, Ron?
Yeah, I'm in a similar camp. When I was younger, I was into, The Cure, Depeche Mode, those types of bands. And then as I gravitated towards heavier stuff, it went towards, Frontline Assembly, KMFDM, Skinny Puppy, huge fan of Skinny Puppy, right. 9 Inch Nails, Marilyn Manson. I enjoyed nu metal when that was a thing. I hear it's making a comeback. So, yeah. I kind of fell out of industrial for a while, but it's nice to see its resurgence with more aggressive guitar-driven sounds coming back.
It definitely has come back now, or it's starting to. There's been, it did take a weird trance turn for a while in the 90s, but before that, like Skinny Puppy is still like, to me, everything. But it does. There does seem to be like a lot of those bands are being called on to come back to the stage, so that's exciting.
There was a time where, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say it goes hand in hand with what you're doing too. Even though there's plenty of tracks where I'm like, they're like ripping this guitar up like this should be a metal video, but at the same time, you've mixed it. This new album has taken some of your old stuff and it's really pulled that electro bass up, and so it can go hand in. That's why we were calling out KMFDM as a possible reference. But you guys definitely have your own thing. But I love the fact that like you could be on a stage with some of these old guys and it would still make sense,
And that would be super cool.
Right? I know there's a big, huge industrial thing. They did what was the big cold thing?
Cold Waves, Chicago. Yeah.
No. What's the one that was just in LA? That had like everybody.
Oh,
Cool World. Cool World, yeah.
Festival,
so they're doing another one with. They're doing another one that's just industrial bands.
Oh, I mean, as long as Morrissey's not there.
Morrissey won't be there. No.
Good.
9 times out of 10,
Puppy will be there.
Anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Another one of my favorite bands. Another one of my favorite bands, Bile, will be there too.
Oh, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm not crazy. This is real. Okay. That's cool. And I don't know if that's in LA as well, but for some reason I just assumed it would be. But
there was one that was coming up in Vegas, I think, that had like a zillion bands on it, and like a quarter of them were really cool, and then the other quarter was
there was a bunch that did not make any sense on that bill.
Yeah.
but that's kind of how they're lumping things together now. So it's a little bit more broad, but
everybody wants to get back out. Lots of bands looking to do shows. Why not just put them all on the same bill?
Mhm.
right.
It kind of makes more sense too to do it through a festival because you're not always guaranteed an audience, with the COVID going on. But when you have so many names on a bill, you're going to have a big crowd, you're going to have a good draw.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and the other thing, it draws for new fan base too. Like that's a huge potential.
Yeah. I would go just to see Monster Magnet, but that's just
yes.
So yeah, it's got to be tough navigating like the post-pandemic stuff as a band. You're trying to get your stuff out there. You're trying to play live because that's really where the energy's at. Like especially when you're new. But do you? I mean, it does seem like you're in a place where they're at least kind of really trying to like step on the gas. So
yeah.
What do you have anything planned coming up?
Yeah. So we're going to be up in San Francisco on Christmas. And with Carla LeVay's Black Xmas Festival. Carla LeVay, if that name sounds a little familiar, is the daughter of Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan. And I've worked with her it's like 4 or 5 years or something. And she's always super cool, and it's always a really cool. It's just a cool event, and all the strangos and the weirdos and the people that maybe don't want to wear bad sweaters and eat fruitcake with their families go on Christmas. So it's our kind of people.
So, but I can come and wear my Krampus sweater, right?
Yeah. Yes, Krampus sweaters are totally cool. Like, it's the Yule logs and the candy cane.
It's my favorite ugly sweater.
Yeah. No, I've been, I think it was fake, but I saw this pinhead sweater, like a pinhead Christmas sweater. And I was like, I want a pinhead Christmas sweater. Where do I sign up for that? Because I would wear that.
I'll have to send you a link so you can get some cool sweaters.
Yeah, right. Yeah, please do. I'm in the market. So
because God knows everybody wants to see Kay in a cool Christmas sweater.
Yeah.
My thoughts exactly.
Right? Now, what they don't know is that they want to see me in a cool Christmas sweater. And only a cool Christmas sweater.
Exactly. The studded jockstrap and a nice ripped up sweater.
They want to paint me like one of their French girls in a Christmas sweater.
So do you guys have anything exciting for the first of the year? You got any shows booked after the first of the year?
I don't think we have anything on the calendar at the moment for the next year. So hopefully some writing and recording and working on a second record.
Very cool.
I liked the remixes you guys put out too. There was one for Angel, right? And the other, did I get that wrong? No.
Maybe it's Scarecrow.
There was Scarecrow, but was that on like the single for Angel? Is that what I'm thinking?
You're thinking of She
you're
Haunts
right.
You, maybe?
Yeah, She Haunts You. Well, you did a couple remixes.
Yes.
That's for.
Yeah,
they were great.
Oh well, I would say thank you, but on behalf of Christopher Hall, who did that remix, thank you.
Yeah,
and John Fryer did an alternate mix of Scarecrow that was pretty cool. I think that was it so far. Always down for remixes. I think that's pretty groovy when someone just messes with it entirely and turns it into something else that you would have never thought of. And yeah.
Well, I was listening to your earlier EPs and then also the new album, so you can compare like the different versions.
Yeah.
the first song that I heard was the new version of Angel, and I was really into it. Like from the first note, it comes in really great. And then I heard the older versions, the previous ones, and you definitely, like, if I didn't know you and I was listening to that, I would definitely go in thinking I'm going to have more of a metal experience. And, you know, and I like both, you know. I still love Slaughter, so, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't care. But it's interesting because, like, then you can take it to the next level with the remix. And it's like the difference here is really just the production. Like,
Right.
you can really pull all the guitar playing forward, or you can bring the electro forward. Sometimes the voices almost reminded me of Clan of Zymox occasionally, or at least the manner of singing. I loved it. It was interesting. So anytime a band can kind of, like, you know, weave in and out of styles that way, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
To you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, thank you. Some of the yeah, I don't know. I think that it was partly just an attempt to sing like a normal person for once, and that's kind of how it came out. Instead of like I don't know, one of the Nazgul or something from
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Like, oh, that's how. Okay. And if it sounds like Ronnie Moorings and he wants to fight me, then you know, we'll fight.
Okay. So how are you guys as a band? Like, do you guys, like, is it like, are you in sync? Are you kind of, do you run the show and just say, do what I tell you? Or like, are you, how's it going?
How about I step back and let Scar and Ron answer this one actually, and then I'll share my perspective.
Yeah, Kay's great. You know, always willing to you know, listen to ideas and suggestions and delegate. So I think we're all working really well together at this point. I'm still, you know, kind of new in this project, but it's been nothing but a positive experience for me.
And do you only work in this band right now, or do you have others as well?
I have others as well. You know, before I joined Suicide Queen, I had my own project where I'm the songwriter, and I work with a vocalist. We're a studio-only project at this point. Before the pandemic, we were, you know, getting ready to hit the stage, but we were kind of a casualty of that dynamic of not being able to get together and stuff and do shows. So I'm happy now with, you know, being able to create music, you know, on the side, and as well as being able to contribute to Suicide Queen and be able to do the shows with Suicide Queen. It's been a lot of fun.
That's amazing.
So it's been a good collaboration.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I hope, you know, as we go through with this new material that I'll be able to step up a little bit, you know, cause I, do production. So hopefully I'll be able to put my mark on the next album a little bit.
Very cool. Scar, how about you?
Yeah, pretty much what Ron said. Yeah. Looking forward to writing some new material, working on another album, and we'll see what we come up with, huh?
How is it where you live in terms, like, do you feel that you have a community of people there, or is there nightlife there? What's the scene like?
Santa Cruz? You mean in Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
It depends. It's kind
The
of
Catalyst.
Yes, there's a big college crowd, and Santa Cruz, you know, it's very like independent thinking artists kind of community. So it's really great. You'll either have like a dry day or a totally wild, packed, you know, venue. So it kind of all depends if people are out and about or if they're holed up, right? I think people are starting to get more comfortable going out. But certainly a very vibrant college crowd here and music is alive and well and better out here as the coronavirus starts to dissipate or become less terrifying.
Right. Well, that's good to hear.
awesome.
Not as deadly, right?
Right. Yeah, I told you that I, as a kid, spent a lot of time up there, and it was a lot of older hippies, and it was a lot of young kids like me going to the boardwalk and whatever. So the fact that there's been a scene that's growing, I think that's great. I think a lot of people
And then,
have
of course, you
moved
have the
there
vampire
from
lovers.
before.
Then you
It
have
was
all the
fairly
vampires
sparse.
and the vampire lovers, right? Yes.
Yeah, I lived out there in the 2000s, and I didn't find too much of a scene in Santa Cruz proper. I lived out there for a while, and it was I'd have to go elsewhere for shows. But I'm glad to hear that that's coming back, and you guys are really pulling people, so that's good to hear.
There's no need to cry, little sister, over the Santa Cruz.
Exactly. When Lost Boys came out, I was already like every weekend at the boardwalk. So I'm looking at the bridge where all the vampires were hanging off of. I played on that bridge every Saturday as a child.
Yeah.
It's not that.
I'm about to make you cry. That bridge is in Southern California. That's the only thing out of the whole movie.
No.
It looks just like the bridge in Santa Cruz, and I believed it was for the longest time. But if you look it up, it's going to make you cry. That bridge scene is the
I
only scene in the whole movie.
believe you. I believe you that they wouldn't be filming on that bridge for sure. But like, I think I just always assumed that's where it's supposed to be because
Me
you
too.
see like the skyline of the whole thing. Yeah. Wait. So is it actually a real bridge? Is it a real bridge in LA, or was it something they built?
I think it's a movie set, but I'm not certain about that. You can look it up. Look it up, and you tell me.
I have my dreams. I'll just keep them intact. It's
right. But hey, we all still call it Lost Boys Bridge. That's what.
Don't let
everybody
us
knows
movie
about.
folk ruin your dreams.
But you knew what I was talking about, right?
Oh yes,
So
yeah.
that's
We all
awesome.
call it Lost Boys Bridge, and for about I don't know, for a long time, I believed that too. And then just recently,
Okay,
somebody corrected me, and I was like, "Oh, fuck you! Oh, can I say that?
Of course.
Is
Yes.
that okay?"
I can't
But
believe
then
it's been
looked it up, and I was-
53
and I
minutes and
apologized,
it
and I
just
said,
came
"I'm
out.
sorry." You're right.
Check
Yeah,
this
that's
out.
impressive that it's been 53 minutes and the only time it's come out.
Yeah.
So
Pardon
So-
me.
so check this out. Someone on the internet says this is actually not the Lost Boys Bridge. The bridge, Iron Horse Trailhead Bridge from the movie, is in Santa Clarita, 40 miles north of Los Angeles. So there you go. So Santa Clarita stands in for Santa Carla, which stands in for Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz. Yeah.
So
That's as close to town as I like to get.
Well, they got the idea of the bridge from seeing it. How about that?
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then but
The crazy grandfather's house, that is in Santa Cruz too. And I believe, but I'm not certain, but I think that they have turned that giant house, which is in the Pogo Nip area of Santa Cruz, into a gigantic beehive to keep trespassers out. So the entire house is swarming with bees. Like
we gotta go.
it's I could take you anytime.
We gotta play with the bees.
It's the biggest bee I've ever seen
Just
in my
don't
life.
say Candyman treatment.
Right? There you go.
Yeah. No, we're gonna say it a lot.
Do you guys like horror?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Gee, I would
Have
never
you
have
seen
guessed.
Well, I mean,
Well, yes,
This
there's
is
certainly
the Patricia Arquette from the movie
the
Stigmata.
Fright Walk in Santa Cruz has a lot of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which was also filmed in Santa Cruz, which was Killer Clowns from Outer Space, one of my favorites. And they have a lot of those props from that movie in the Fright Walk, which is a very fun Fright Walk, by the way. That's at the boardwalk.
Fright Walk, is that like a Halloween thing? Or is
It's
that
like a year-round thing. It's year-round.
Okay. I
Yeah, they
haven't
have the
been
mirror
back.
maze.
I haven't been
So it's
like
a
25
delightful
years, so
thing.
or more.
Well, Roman,
God.
we need to go. Don't we?
Yeah,
Sounds like
I
we
need
visit.
to. I need to go back.
Where are you going that's more important than this?
Well, when Silicon Valley kind of chased me out of everywhere. So I grew up in, I went to San Francisco, and then all the clubs started closing down from noise ordinance laws. This was like in 1995. And then we went to LA, and then I'm in New York now, and it just keeps following me. So now, if everything's sparking up again, I'd love to come back, So maybe me and Nick need to get on a plane.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
no, yeah. We're gonna go hang out with the bees.
There you go. Hang out with bees and listen to that music.
I'm just picturing what sort of safe outfit I would wear for that.
There are no safe outfits with the bees.
Mm.
The bees will get us. This is, I mean, that's just how it's gonna.
Well, we'll have to revisit that. We'll have to revisit that on another show.
Bee visit.
We'll have to catch up with you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a post show for that. How about we wrap this up for today? Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
We
us.
really
It's really
appreciate
awesome.
you guys coming on. It's been an honor to have you guys here and talk about your music, what drove you to be here.
Well, it's
very
been an honor to be here.
Sorry, very good to be on.
And excited for your shows for Christmas.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us. It's really, really cool. Thank you.